Okay, so number 4 for the homework has a bunch of stuff. Remember that after you read it, suppose you have a job mowing lawns that pays $12 an hour. You also have a job at a clothing store that pays $10 per hour. You need to earn at least $350 per week, but you can work no more than 35 hours per week. You must work a minimum of 10 hours per week at the clothing store. What is a graph showing how many hours per week you can work at each job? So here, remember, we don't have the graph, so all we're doing is writing the inequalities. This is what I'm doing. So I go back to the question to figure out what my x and my y, or my variables, will be. It says, what is the graph showing how many hours per week you can work at each job? Okay, so they want you to know hours at each job. So you go back to the problem. What jobs are they talking about? It says each job, so there's many. Here we're talking about the mowing of the lawns and the clothing store. So since mowing lawns appears first, I'm going to call that X, and clothing store appears next, I'm going to call that Y. So this would be mowing lawns, and this would be clothing store. Or clothing, I'm sorry. Yeah, clothing store. Alright, so now I have to find my inequalities. My first sentence, okay, the mowing lawns pays $12 per hour, and you have a job at the clothing stores that pay $10 per hour. So here it doesn't really tell you much. We just know how much per hour. Okay? The next sentence, so I'm going to put it here. It's not really an inequality, but I know that for the mowing of the lawns, it is 12 per hour, and this one's 10 per hour. So this is not really an inequality, it's just information. The next one says you need to earn at least, and like, oh, there is a keyword. At least has to be a minimum, so it's that or greater, $350 per week. But you can work no more than 35, so no more means that is the maximum. So less than or equal to 35 hours per week. So they're telling me two like totals here. I can earn greater than or equal to $350 per week. That's dollars. That's one total. And then they tell me in hours. Okay, in hours, the minimum I can work is 35 hours. So that means I need to fill out space for money, and hours over here. Okay? So now the next one says, you must work a minimum, that means that or greater, 10 hours per week at the clothing store. Okay, clothing store is my Y. Okay, so I already know that Y has to be a minimum of $10 per week. Okay? And now it says, that's another inequality. The clothing store has to be less than or equal to 10 hours per week. Okay? Now that's it. That's all they give me. So that means with this information and that one, I need to fill out hours, and I already have one inequality only for the clothing store. Okay? So now I have to come back and fill out the other stuff. When they're talking about money, I'm going to have to use the $12 an hour and the $10 an hour. So for the mowing of the lawns, if I want to know how much I'm going to get paid in total for that week, I have to multiply the $12 per hour times the number of hours at this job, at the mowing of the lawn. So that would be $12 times X. Whatever hours in the mowing of the lawns times the 12 will give me the amount of money I earn there at that job. For the clothing store job, I'm going to have to do the same. $10 an hour times Y, or times the number of hours in the clothing store, will give me the amount of money I earn for both. Okay? And now for the hours. Okay, that I know that I have to work no more than 35 hours per week. That means at both jobs. Okay, remember that X and Y are the hours at each place. So here I just do X plus Y has to be less than or equal to 35 hours. So there are my three inequalities. The one that was very straightforward is this one. The Y is less than or equal to 10. If you were to graph this one, this is in standard form, right? So they're linear equations. This one also, but it's missing the X. Remember, if it has no X, that means that it has zero slope. So I should know that this is a horizontal line. okay? So go ahead and read this problem over and watch this video again to see how I got the variables and how I wrote the inequalities for each. And notice how here, when they give you totals, you got to keep them in the same unit. You know, this total was for money. So the 12 and the 10 were money. So money gives me money. These were for hours. Remember, the X variable and the Y variable are the hours that you work at each job. So hours, hours, hours. Okay? So in case you get confused as to where the 35 goes with what, remember that the units stay the same. Money, 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 hours, hours, hours. Okay? So go ahead and practice it again by yourself and then watch the video until you understand this problem.